Recording. So, it's all yours.
All right. Well, welcome to the February 20th, 2026 ASSP Alabama chapter meeting, along with the Jacksonville State Student Section of ASSP. Thanks for inviting us again to your campus. I think this is our third year in a row we've done this, correct? And hopefully we'll continue to do this in the future. Anyways, if you would, please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vincent, will you lead us in the morning prayer? Thanks.
Lord, we thank you for this day. Thank you for blessing us to be here, get here safely. Thank you for giving us another opportunity to serve and to learn how we can best serve the thing that you've given us to do, which is to protect your people, protect our employees, people that our friends, and who work with us. We thank you for watching over them through us. Thank you for blessing the food that we're about to receive, for the nourishment of our bodies. In Christ is our Lord's name. Amen.
Amen.
Morning, Justin. I'd like to present Steve Sir with Crackville and Corey. He's going to do our presentation and I'll talk to you all about his presentation and so forth. Thank you, Steve.
Hey, thank you.
Presentation.
Okay.
Oh, I can get that for you. Okay. You go get started. How we doing? Everybody good? Listen, you got a chicken sandwich, so I know you guys are good, right? There's nothing wrong with that. Listen, what's better than Chick-fil-A and a safety presentation on a Friday afternoon? I mean, just didn't get better than that. So, man, I will say a couple of things. I do appreciate the opportunity to come. I think this is my second or third time coming for this group, man, and it is always a joy. It's always a pleasure to be here. Always just an honor and a pleasure for me to be able to share just a little bit about what we do at Brassfield and Gore. I mean, many of you in here, I think, know us. I know some of you really, really well. And so I hope today's a little bit of a challenge for you, and I mean that with a lot of love and a lot of intentionality. I want to challenge maybe the way that we've thought about safety, maybe the way that we view safety. Down to progress. Perfect. Thank you, Vincent. But before I do that, I do want to do a little bit of a company overview. I thought it would be helpful if you're not that familiar with B&G, kind of where we are, what we do, kind of where the future is going, kind of where we're headed from a B&G standpoint. I thought it'd be really, really helpful. I'll not spend a lot of time on this because I don't want to necessarily bore you to sleep this afternoon, but I do want to spend just a few moments giving you some insight to what we're kind of focused on from a company standpoint and how that sort of translates into what we're doing from a safety standpoint as well. I think that'll be helpful. So you see here, this is just where our offices are, where we perform work, where we're kind of like currently working. I always get this question a lot. Hey, is Brassfield and Gore, are you a nationwide? Are you international? The answer is absolutely not. We are not international. We have zero interest. There are zero plans for us to get outside of the U.S. and as it relates to that. We are not trying to head out west. Sometimes we have clients that take us that way. We're not trying to head up north to the northwest or the northeast. Sometimes clients take us there. Our footprint is the southeast. We like to call it SEC country. So if you think about the states in which SEC country is in, that's kind of our footprint. And so we actually have to include Texas into that now because they are SEC, right? So we kind of bring Texas in. So we have a Dallas office as well. One of my really, really good friends, Eric Holt, he's our regional safety director in Dallas. And so appreciate what they do out there. So that is kind of our footprint. We do have work down in Miami. We got work just all over. But again, that is 99% of the work that you see us do is what we call repeat client work. It's clients that we work for a lot, and they continue to ask us to do work for them. And so that is really the bulk of our portfolio as it relates to that. So you can kind of see our offices here. We do have offices in all these cities. Our corporate headquarters is in Birmingham, Alabama. I'm extremely proud to say that will always be our corporate headquarters. We will always be a Birmingham-based contractor. That is where Mr. Gorey founded the company in 1964, and that is never going to change. Doesn't matter how big we get, doesn't matter how large the company grows to be, long after I'm gone, the reality is we will always be a Birmingham contractor, and we are super proud of that. That's where our roots are. Again, that is where Mr. Gorey founded the company in 1964. And we have zero interest in changing that. Now, again, we will continue to grow. Obviously, we may open offices one day in some other cities, as you can kind of see on the map there, but Birmingham will be our headquarters forever. So super proud of that. So I want to talk a little bit about, because I get this question a lot. I got this some Tuesday at the career fair. Hey, what kind of projects are you guys building? Well, it's a lot of different. I would tell you that one of the things I'm super excited about, proud of, from the moment that I started with the company is just our diversification as it relates to the type of projects that we work in. We're not the kind of company that just sort of swings for the fences every time a new market sort of comes in or there's a new product. How many of you have heard of data centers lately? I mean, that is like the buzzword around the data center. Listen, it is a really, really cool market that we're in. We're excited about data center work. It is, I would tell you, we're just really kind of at the tip of the spear as it relates to where that is headed. But we're just not a company that says, hey, oh, data center is really cool. It's the new thing. Let's just sell out and do all nothing but data centers. Or, hey, maybe there's some stadium projects, or maybe this particular industry is kind of pushing us this way. Let's go. Man, we're kind of have our finger in a lot of different things, and that's very intentional and I think very strategic on our part. So aerospace is one that we're pretty passionate about. It is something that is consistently going to be a market that we will be in. It is a market that is consistently out there that just continues to grow, and there's a tremendous amount of that. So you can see some of these pictures. This is a project from Huntsville, Alabama that we did. Commercial, obviously commercial is something that just, it ebbs and flows based on a lot of things, right? A lot of things that we don't control, like the economy certainly has a huge influence on the commercial market sector. Commercial is one of our largest sectors that we're in just because it captures a lot of different types of products, right? Office buildings, general commercial, just things that you see a lot of times. You can probably see some out the window today. And so there's just a tremendous amount of that. And so that's why that's one of the largest market sectors that we're in. But you can kind of see the office buildings and things that we do. I would tell you some of the stuff that we've done here and around Jacksonville, we would call commercial, just based on the type of project. So that's a big market for us. Healthcare is certainly one of those things. We are consistently in the top one or two healthcare contractors in the nation. That has always been a part of our business. We just believe that it's bigger than just sort of the bricks and the mortar and the concrete and steel. When you think about like this project, for example, this is the Children's Hospital of Atlanta. This was a new hospital for the Children's Healthcare Network of Atlanta. And so for us, when we get to build a project like this, it's just bigger than sort of the building itself. We think about all the things that are going to take place long after we're gone, right? What this hospital is going to serve in Atlanta and is currently serving, we finished that project, turned it over, and they're now seeing patients. It's pretty remarkable. And so we're proud to be part of that. That's why it's a big part of our business and a big part of our industry as well. Hospitality, you can imagine, Omni Hotel, Joseph, these what we would call a boutique hotel. That is something that we have a lot of clients that continue to build these. We're fixing to start one in New Orleans, Louisiana. So if any of you want to go to New Orleans, I know a guy you can talk to. We're fixing to build a new Omni Hotel in New Orleans, Louisiana. It's going to start this August. It's about a $550 million hotel in downtown New Orleans. So we're pretty excited about that. It'll look very similar to what you see right here. This one's out of Nashville. That's one that we built in downtown Nashville. If you look just to the left of that picture, that is the Bridgestone Arena. So that kind of gives you an idea. If you've been to Nashville lately, you've heard of the Bridgestone Arena. That's where that hotel is. So when we say hospitality, that's kind of what that means for us in terms of that mission critical, AKA data centers, right? We're all so excited about data centers. I will tell you, from my perspective, the thing about data centers, they're really fascinating to me. When you see one, it's a rectangular box and you're like, man, what's so awesome about that? You're like, it's the inside, what we would call sort of the guts of the data center that makes it so unique. When you get to see the inner workings of what's inside that rectangular precast box, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's fascinating what is taking place in there. The level of security, the level of complexity of what it takes to put one of those together. I would tell you, it is actually pretty mind-blowing, really. And when you hear these owners and these, what we call tenants, the tenants that are going to actually use this data space, right? When you hear them talk about what they need, and man, it's pretty fascinating. And so folks like Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, Meta, I mean, those are the clients that are actually taking up these mega data center spaces, right? What's interesting about data centers, I'll give you this quick tidbit, is that rarely do you see a Microsoft, Google, Apple, Meta build a data center. It's no different than a commercial office building where a developer will build that building and then they'll get tenants to come and actually occupy that building. They'll lease that space out. Data center world's the same way. We don't work for them directly most of the time. We're working for a developer, somebody that builds data centers and then lease that space back to some of those major clients like that. So But it's really, really cool to see that and see what there's really three things that they are really, really hyper focused on. Number one, safety. I will tell you from my perspective, I've worked for a lot of clients. My whole career has been at Brassman Ward, but I've worked for a lot of clients in my career that have been what we would call safety sensitive clients, where they're really, really passionate about safety. But I will tell you that I've never worked for clients that are as serious and as genuine about safety as I am in this data center, this mission critical world. They believe in it. It's part of who they are. It's part of their culture. They just believe it ought to be done right. And they don't mind paying for that. They're actually willing to say, hey, we want this, this, and this, and we're willing for you guys to do it. We'll pay you to do it. We want it done right. So number one, safety. Secondly, security, as you might imagine, right? They cannot in any way have some level of data breach. So imagine, I saw some of you on Facebook a while ago. I could tell who that was, and Instagram and TikTok. I saw you guys scrolling. So you can imagine how much information, personal information, is out there, right? And so if they were to have a data breach, you can see how important that would be for them to not have that happen. So security is huge, even during the construction process, right? You can't go out to a data center project today and start taking a bunch of photos and be like, oh, I'm gonna show all my friends how cool this is. Like there is a tremendous amount of process for that. So that's two. And then third is speed to market. So one of the things that is really, really important, as you might imagine, they need a ton of data space. How many of you uploaded a video lately or have watched some reels this week or whatever, right? Kind of raise your hand. Yes, you can imagine how much data space is out there. AI is obviously a big deal. And so it takes a tremendous amount of storage. If you just think about your iPhone, you got, I don't know, how many gigabytes or whatever of storage you have on your phone. Imagine how much it takes for Meta, right? Or Google or Apple. So for them, speed to market, they need it now. They need it really, really fast. And so they're also willing to say, hey, we'll do this thing the right way. And we're willing to kind of pay and understand what it takes to get us this data center built as fast as we can, but we want it done right. So just a little bit of insight on some mission critical world. It's been unique for us to kind of get into that world over the last few years. You may recognize this. Anybody ever heard of Protective Stadium? So obviously sports and entertainment is a big deal for us. Brave Stadium, Protective Stadium. We did a job here at JSU in the last couple of years. You guys may have saw it here at the stadium here. So that's our sports and entertainment world. That's a big business for us. We love doing those projects. Those are the ones that are like, it's so cool, man. It's this stadium deal. They really are cool. It's a lot of fun to see when we get finished with that and then see what all takes place. These projects are extremely complex from a safety standpoint, just the construction process and just how those buildings have to be built, put together. They're incredibly complex in that sense. So obviously self-perform is a big part of our work. I'll talk some more about this throughout this course of this presentation, but I will tell you for us, we were founded as a self-perform contractor. We will always be a self-perform contractor. Right now we have about 2,500 just what we call field craft employees. We've got about 5,000 employees in the company. About half of that, a little bit more than half of that is what we call field craft. So crane operators, carpenters, laborers, you name it, that is our field craft employees. We want to grow that from 2,500 to 10,000 in the next few years. And so that is all in an effort for us to continue to be a self-perform contractor. We will always do that. I thought I would just show you a cool video. If I can get this to play, let's see. Maybe I can. Oh, yeah. And just kind of showing you the growth over the last several years of top general contractors kind of in the market. And some of these names you'll probably recognize, obviously. And so it's just kind of showing the growth, showing sort of what's taking place. The majority of this, again, is in the Southeast, but this does take complete national sort of volume and revenue, and then it kind of puts it in this graph for you to kind of see where everybody sort of ranks and ends up in terms of that. So I thought that was cool. That's a couple of years old. It's about a year and a half old now, so you can kind of see. I'll show you some more slides on that. This is kind of our growth of the last 10 years. I'll not spend a lot of time here, but just to kind of give you an insight, that number on the far right, it's 7.9 is what it says. That's actually grown to about 9.2 this year. So it is a little bit larger than what we show there. It's grown a little bit since this graph was made. And that is literally a product of work coming in that maybe we didn't have plans for. Again, repeat clients, things that weren't necessarily on the books, and then that work's kind of come in the door. So I say this because, and show this slide, because it's really, really cool to see. This hasn't been like astronomical growth from one year to the next. It's been a very methodical, strategic sort of growth model for us. And so we want to continue to do that. Here's that employee growth piece that I told you. If you notice, total employees for us right now is somewhere in the 4,800. We think that'll grow somewhere in the 12 to 15,000 in the coming years, but we want to grow our craft employee to 10,000 in the coming years. That's really, really important for us. We believe that's really impactful. So our company is divided into these 5 regions that you see here. So we've got Carolinas region, we've got the Central region, Georgia region, Florida region, and Texas region. And that is a great way for us just to kind of understand, hey, what group is kind of managing this work? That obviously includes those offices that I showed you, and as well as those projects. And so you can kind of see the breakdown there. We just want to make it easy to communicate, like, hey, here's our regions, here's kind of how the company is structured, and that sort of thing. So that's kind of it I wanted to give a quick just company overview, a little bit about Brassfield and Gorey, who we are, kind of where we're nestled in the market, so to speak, and then really what our focus is from just a market sort of diversification standpoint. So, but what I really want to get back to is this idea, and what I mentioned to you a while ago. I want to sort of challenge us today a little bit, and maybe the way that we've traditionally thought about safety, and maybe even the way we currently view safety. Not necessarily how we do safety, because if you said, well, hey, Stephen, how do we do safety? Well, we do safety a lot of ways, right? We do blocking and tackling in the field through orientations, through training, through audits. That's how you do safety. But it's really about this mindset about, man, how do we think about safety? How do we view safety? How do we view incidents that take place? How do we view injuries, right? I would tell you that traditional safety has one model, one sort of lens in which they view those things. I would tell you from our standpoint, we're challenging ourselves and have been for a few years to maybe think about that and view that through maybe a different set of lens than we have in years past. So that's really what I want to talk about, is this paradigm shift that we've kind of been under, and we've kind of been in this journey for a few years at Brassfield and Gorey, and I'm pretty proud to say that we're on this journey. But I want us to take kind of a walk together. This is just like a great place to go walk. I don't know if this is maybe back here at JSU somewhere or what, but just kind of looks like a great place to take a walk. But I want you and I to kind of go on this walk, this journey together for the next little while and talk about this idea of a paradigm shift. What I think is really impactful, because we do get this question a lot. I get this question a lot of times. Hey, Sawyer, why in the world would we even want to change the way that we think and view safety in the industry? And I would tell you that this slide right here literally explains it for me and sums it up. And I'll share a little bit about what this slide represents. But I want you to kind of lean in to this just for a few moments, because this to me summarizes everything that we talk about in safety, everything you've learned in your classes, everything you're going to hear somebody talk about in safety. This slide right here to me sums up the why behind why we do safety. So let me talk about this. So if you notice on this left-hand side, this is a graph that talks about the fatal occupational injuries in 2021. And something that's really, really interesting to me, if you notice from 2011 to 2021, that graph on the far left, what do you notice about that bar graph? It's unchanged. I mean, virtually it's the same. So what you're telling me is that from 2011 to 2021, the number of employees that are killed in the workplace is virtually the same in a decade. Interestingly enough, if you look at the next one, from 11 to 21, fatal work injury rate per 100,000 full-time employee workers, the same thing is true, that virtually it's gone unchanged. And you say, well, that's not real surprising to me. And it's really not when you think about and you see some of the things that you see in the headlines and you see sort of in the news. But what I think is really most impactful to me is this graph that we have on the right over there. So what that shows is the fatality rate versus the non-fatal injury rate. So you've all heard of recordable incident rate, lost time incident rate. That's the non-fatal injury rate, right? And so what you see there, that black line represents from about 1993 to about 2016. What's interesting, if you look at that rate now, it's about the same in the last 5 years. But if you look at that black line, what it represents is total recordable incident rate per 200,000 man hours. What do you notice about that black line that's really interesting? It's a pretty drastic drop, right? I mean, if you look at from 1993 to about 2016, I mean, there's been a pretty drastic from about 8.5 or so down to about a 3, maybe a little bit less than a 3 total recordable incident rate in the industry. But the red line represents the fatality rate per 100,000 workers in that same time frame. And what do you notice about the red line over the last 30 years? About the same. About the same. So what does that tell you? It tells me that we've done a really, really good job of reducing recordable incident rates, and maybe even lost time incident rates. But what we haven't done a really, really good job of, or maybe not as much as we possibly could, is changing the number in which employees are fatally injured on a job site in the workplace. So it's interesting to me because I think a lot of times, if you were to maybe unpack these numbers, what you may find is that that black line is really a product of maybe better claims management, right? If you go back in the 90s, I mean, some of us in the room may remember this from the 90s. A few of us probably remember this. You know, managing a claim and trying to reduce recordability probably was like, man, well, you know, kind of whatever. We were really focused on the big picture stuff. But obviously, as the industry has changed, there has been a hyper focus on changing, lowering recordable incident rate, right? Lowering the lost time incident rate. That's doing a better job of managing claims. And I see this a lot, certainly in these what I would call high profile clients, where they'll put a full-time occupational nurse on site just to help manage. We have a whole OcuMed sort of scenario where we do teledoc now for any kind of injury regardless. So you think of it like high level first aid, so to speak. So we changed the game in terms of that, which has certainly affected that black line. But that has no bearing on the red line. What that tells me is that the rate in which employees are fatally injured in the workplace has gone virtually unchanged in 30 years. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I hear that, that's pretty heavy on my soul, to be honest with you. I mean, I get up every single day, and many of us in this room do, my sole goal every single day when I wake up, man, I'm a safety professional. That's what I do. I'm a safety director. So every day when I get up, it is literally to prevent that from happening. So when I hear that that has gone unchanged for 30 years, man, that's just heavy to me. You know, it's pretty, and I'll be honest with you, I'm just not okay with that. I mean, I'm just not okay with that. So let's talk about that a little bit. I thought this was a really interesting news article that I saw coming. This is not a criticism at OSHA. It's actually validating OSHA's message they've been giving us for 40, 50 years now is despite OSHA's efforts, construction death rate hasn't budged in 10 years. 10 years. All that OSHA's done, Tom and I were talking about this before we started about just all that OSHA's doing to try to combat this and tackle this. And throughout all their efforts that they've put into place, it's not moving the needle in terms of the fatality rate. This is the way it used to be. I mean, check this out. Some of these pictures were probably from a B&G job back in the day. It's funny when you see this, you're like, man, what in the world? This is how it used to be. This is it. And so let's talk about how it is today. Let's talk about the new normal. So what do you see in these pictures? You see some tool tethers up here on the top left. You see what we call a platform podium ladder down here in the bottom left. Over here, kind of in the middle, you see these what we call manufactured guardrails, right? We are changing. This is just a B&G thing. I'll tell you, we are changing this whole game around temporary guardrails on our product. We're getting away from wooden and capable guardrails on our product. We're done with that, to be honest with you. It's just not, again, that's how it used to be. That is not the plan for the future. So you see that. You see these Type 2 hard hats. How cool those things look. Come on, you know you guys want some of those. Those Type 2 hard hats with a chin strap. Who doesn't want one of those? So this is a new normal for us. I mean, this is, if you go back to this is how it was. And I will tell you that sadly, this is how it was when I started. Now, I'm not in any of these pictures. I'm not that old. You guys need to quit. I'm not that old. But I can remember when I started with the company, it was actually November 1st of 1999 when I started at B&G, my career in safety. Man, I would see some things that weren't too much different than some of this, right? We weren't in Type 2 hard hats. To be completely honest, we weren't in high-vis vest or T-shirts back then. We weren't 100% safety glasses back then. There was a lot of things we weren't doing in the 90s that you couldn't fathom that now, right? Because we're here doing some things that have changed the game. And for us, what I would tell you is every single one of these things you see us doing in these pictures is literally in an effort to change the red line that you saw on that graph, right? We know this to be true. Tool tethers save lives. They drop tools from falling and hitting people. We know that platform podium ladders are safer than traditional step ladders. We know that. We know that a Type 2 hard hat, when it's put on correctly and the chin strap is in the right position, somebody falls, it'll prevent a TBI, traumatic brain injury. We know that for a fact. We know that. So for us, it's all about changing that red line so that doesn't happen, at least under my watch, for sure. So, yeah.
We're not talking about the multi-billion-dollar a year company. I'm talking about like mom and pop down the road that
Sure.
does a roofing company. You know, do you think that those numbers are more accounting for those guys? Like, you think it's more of a fault of those smaller companies or bigger companies like Brasfield or Boulder, these different big contractors?
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic question. I think I think if you go back, maybe back into the 90s, early 2000s, maybe in like 2010, 2015, I think it accounts for all of us, to be honest with you. I mean, just to be completely transparent in this room, in my career, I've dealt with some fatalities. I mean, I'll just be completely real with you. I'd love to tell you that that was something I never had to deal with. We had an event this week on our project that could have been a fatal event on our project. So I think for us, I think it probably does certainly account for some of that. But I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you the truth that we still have situations that have the potential. I'm going to talk about this in a minute, about this idea of sticky stuff that can kill you, this thing that we live by. I would tell you that there are still situations and circumstances on our projects right now at B&G that have the potential to be fatal. They just weren't, right? And so it's why I'm talking about this today. It's why you seem to be really passionate about this conversation. I believe in this stuff, man. I really do, and our company certainly does. And man, we're passionate about this because, to your point, we just know that that potential still exists, and we have got to be absolutely fanatical about these things we're going to talk about. You're going to hear me talk about this idea of controls so much in here today. You're going to be like, God, I wish you'd quit saying the word controls. I'm going to tell you why in a minute, but I believe in it, and it does save lives. Somebody else have some?
These injuries that are occurring, and you really break them down. Are you seeing that they're more behavior driven, or are they more physical? They're just, that's the type is the situation for, the job is what
Yeah.
it is. You can put up barriers all day to physically keep somebody from going over, but if they climb over,
Mm-hmm.
so what do you see? Is there a shift? It's now more human error. You were focusing on.
I think that's a fantastic question. I would tell you that every event we have falls in one of three buckets. Number one, misbehavior, right? We have this misbehavior where somebody's just doing something they shouldn't be doing. But I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to put a pin that come right by that. So that's one. We got to deal with that, right? We got to figure out how to combat that. Two is a gap in our safety system. We created a system that exists on our projects. We, being leadership, being the company, we create that safety system that employees work within that system. If there's a gap in that system, it's allowed for there to be an event. We got to talk about that. Or sometimes in the third bucket would be there's both, right? Maybe there's some misbehavior. Somebody didn't fill out a permit they're supposed to fill out. There was a gap in our system. Both those things kind of intersected, and now we have this event. What I would share back to Will, I would tell you this, that for us, we're pretty fanatical about this, that we have to take extreme ownership in everything that takes place on our project. And so for us, I would tell you that the reality is, if there is an event, what we call an incident or an event, if that occurs on our job, we look in the mirror and say, hey, we create the system, the environment in which our people work within. And if there's an event on our job, we need to look in the mirror and say, how did we allow that to happen? Were we involved enough? Were we engaged enough? Did we have the right controls in place? See, there it is. Did we have the right controls in place that will, because this is what we know is true, and you're going to hear me talk about some of these safety principles for us. We already know this. If I ask you today, hey, do you think somebody's going to misbehave on the job today? Yes. Matter of fact, since I've started this presentation, there's been some misbehaving going on in our job right now. I've got my phone on D&D. There's probably some text about some people misbehaving. And I share that laughingly, kind of lightheartedly, but I'm being serious. Like, I know that's true. So if we know that, what are we going to do about it? Right? What are we going to do about that? Well, we got to put some controls in place in our safety system that's going to allow us to have some what we call capacity to recover when there's an event. All right. So that's just some safety philosophy for you from my perspective. So I'll talk some more about that. But I think Will brings up a really, really good point about what are you going to do about those things, right? You're not going to change this game around this idea that people are going to misbehave on the job, or there's going to be mistakes that get made, or there may be some things that we didn't account for. Like we got to talk about that and be really serious about that, right? So what is safety? I think this is a really profound question. I will tell you that I used to think when I started early in my career, I used to think this was true, that safety is just the absence of having any events on my job. Like I had a book of business that I was responsible for when I first started. I had projects that I managed and covered, right? That was my projects I was responsible for. And in my mind, I thought, well, I am successful in my group if I don't have any events. If there's no incidents, I'm in good shape. And I learned really quickly that safety should not be defined by the absence of an event, but really the presence of controls. And I want to spend just a few moments on this. I don't necessarily want to confuse you or make you think that we're okay with incidents, because we're not, right? But what I know to be true is things are going to happen on the project. Folks are going to misbehave, right? There's going to be something that's going to take place. And when it does, do I have the right controls in place that's going to allow us to recover and not have a catastrophic or fatal outcome, right? We're going to talk about that. So I'll give you a quick example. So let's assume, for example, that somebody drops a hammer off the 5th floor of an office building on a job site. That's a real life scenario, by the way. It could certainly happen. Somebody drop a hammer off the 5th floor. They're working on the perimeter edge. Let's say we're stripping concrete formwork because we're self-performing, and somebody drops their hammer off the leading edge on that 5th floor, and it hits the ground and doesn't hit anybody. You'd say, thank goodness it didn't hit anybody, right? So the second scenario would be same situation, falls off, and unfortunately it does strike somebody, but hey, it just hits them in the arm. They've got a contusion, but they're okay. They don't even need to go to the clinic. They're like, hey, it hit my arm, but it just grazed me. I'm fine. We're good to go. Number 3 could be this. If I know that is a reality for us, what if I said, hey, while our employees are working on the perimeter edge, what if we put up some hard barricades on the ground below? Because I know the potential is somebody may make a mistake or misbehave, drop their hammer, and if they do, I don't want anybody down below where that's going to fall. So let's put some controls in place to make sure that if that does happen or when it happens, nobody gets hit by a hammer that gets dropped from the 5th floor. Well, all 3 are an event, right? All 3 are an incident, right? We would certainly say that. But I'm not measuring incidents, or I'm not measuring our success based on how many hammers we drop. I'm measuring it by how many times did we have something happen where we had active controls in place that actually saved somebody's life or protected somebody, right? So, because I know this is true. I would love to stand here today and tell you that, hey, we're never going to drop another hammer in the history of basketball. Never going to happen again. We're done. We're done dropping hammers. Never going to happen again. But because I'm a realist, I'm going to tell you that there is a high, not just possibility, there's a high probability that we'll drop a hammer at some point in the coming days, weeks, months. I'd love to tell you that's not true, but it's possible, right? Or drop something. So if I know that, what I want to say is, hey, if and when that does happen, because that's an incident, by the way, if and when it does happen, let's just make sure nobody gets hit by it. So how am I going to do that? Have the right controls in place to make sure that that does not happen. Who controls that? Who has the ability to create that system where that takes place? We do. We do. So now if those controls aren't in place and the hammer drops and somebody almost gets hit, that's on us. We got to look in the mirror and say, man, we missed it. We didn't have the right defenses and controls in place. So I'm talking some more about that, but I just want to kind of maybe lay a little bit of groundwork on this idea. I just want to maybe challenge again the way we think about safety, maybe the way we view safety, sort of that mindset, because it's not just us counting up how many incidents we had or didn't have and viewing success and failure that way. It certainly factors in. It's just not the only metric, right? And so there's more to it than that. So this is some things I would just tell you, just for us, some realities that we sort of live by. One, minor injuries rarely predict serious injuries, because the things that hurt people are not the same things that kill people. It's interesting because in the past, I'll give you a scenario. Like if I used to would have said that, hey, if we have 4 employees roll their ankle, then that is going to be sort of a precursor that if we don't do something about that, somebody may die on this job. That's a fallacy. It's not true. It's just not true. The things that cause people to roll their ankles are not the same things that affect the red line on that graph. They're not, those two things are not the same. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not okay with that. We are certainly hyper concerned about anybody getting injured. It's just not the same. We just can't view them the same way. We have to look at one way and say, hey, whatever's causing that, we got to fix that because that is a problem. But I also need to understand that that is not something that's going to cause somebody to be fatally injured or catastrophically injured on our job, right? They're not the same thing. And I'm sharing that with you because I used to not think that way. I used to think like all incidents were the same, and they're just not. Some have the potential to be fatal, right? So fatalities are almost always based upon uncontrolled energy. So energy is out there. It's ready to kind of jump up and grab somebody. And if it's not controlled, the reality is it has the potential to be fatal. And I would use it this way. So if we have somebody working on a leading edge that's using personal fall arrest, right? They're tied off. What are we doing by doing that? What are we trying to control? If they fall, what is that? It's a release of what? Energy. That's a release of energy. Putting them in a harness and tying them off to the right anchorage point with the right system is doing what? Trying to control that energy, right? I'm trying to control it because there's going to be an energy release and I got to control that. If I don't control it, the outcome is potentially fatal, right? So you could put anything in that blank that you sort of want to put in that blank. It could be electrical, right? Lockout, tagout. It could be a utility strike where we had a gas line. I mean, it could be any of those things. That's energy that is currently contained. And if it's not controlled and it's released, it has the potential to be fatal. Think about heavy equipment moving on a job. Think about vehicular traffic, right? All of that. We have to control that. We have to put the controls in place between that energy and our employees that'll protect them if that energy gets released. We'll talk some more about that. Here's something that we believe. Employees don't die because they're the problem. They die because of uncontrolled energy, right? And I will tell you that this is something that I used to really think that, like, hey, man, employees are the problem. The reality is everything we do is about our employees. It's about protecting them. Like, we can't remove them from the equation, right? I mean, that we're getting the work done through our employees. So we can't remove them from the equation. What we have to understand is, hey, they're out there engaged at the tip of the spear, and there's a potential that they're going to come in contact with uncontrolled energy. So let's control the energy, right? Let's control it. I mean, if we know that is the potential and that is maybe the problem, then we as a company and we as leaders in this room, we create the system that our employees work in. We invite them to come, we solicit them to come work, and we create this system and say, hey, come work inside this system. And there's potential for there to be a release of energy. So we're going to put controls in place that's going to protect you if and when that happens. So stuff that can kill. I want to talk about this. So this idea really for us, this is what we call our sticky wheel. And so for us, we said this, every activity, every operation that we have going on our projects right now falls within one of these 9 sticky categories for us. And sticky is simply the stuff that can kill you. We say, hey, there are things that are taking place. Remember what I said a minute ago, that there are 2 types of incidents. There are some that don't ever have the potential to be fatal, and then there are some that do, right? And that doesn't mean that this other one's not important. It just means they're just different. And we just need to say that. It's just different. But the work that takes place in one of these 9 sticky categories for us, we say that work has the potential, if not controlled, and there is a release of energy, has the potential to be fatal. So you can see these. Some of these will not be surprising to you, right? If you look at them, struck by, right? You see that equipment diagram there, confined spaces, electrical, utility strikes, fire, falls, excavations, falling objects, and cranes and rigging. We just say, hey, inside all the operations that take place on our projects right now, they all fall within this right here. And so for us, if we know that those activities have the potential to be sticky, then let's just put controls in place to protect our employees. I want to talk about that. Because I get this question a lot, man, why? I mean, why? Right? And I told you this, that it's really because of it's all about our people. Like, at the end of the day, every single day when we get up and we come to work, it's really with one motive in mind, and it's to protect these folks that make up our people, right? I mean, it's so important. I mean, I've got a picture of my family on there. These are some of my closest friends at the company. So I got family and a lot of friends in these photos. And I just think about, wow, man, for us, there is this reality that, man, we got an obligation, a responsibility that if we know there is a potential that something on our job could cause one of these folks to be injured or even worse, fatally injured, we got to do something about it. So 7 quick principles I'm going to give you. I know this is a busy slide. I'm sorry, I promise. It's the only busy slide I'm going to give you today. But I didn't want to break it up into 2 slides. I just want to give you one. But these are the 7 principles that we live by in terms of safety. Number 1, it's not about the outcome, it's about the potential outcome, right? So hammer falls off 5th floor, hits the ground, doesn't hit anybody. What do you think about that? What's your initial response? Thank goodness, didn't hit nobody. Hey, nobody's hurt, nothing to see here. Moving along, nothing to see. May not even report that because it didn't hit nobody. It's not okay. For us, it's not about the outcome, it's about the potential outcome, right? The potential was, and the probability was, it could have been fatal. And so we're going to react the same way whether that hammer hit somebody or whether it did not hit somebody, right? Or if it hit somebody and just grazed them on the arm, guess what? The potential was we just really got lucky. That's all that is, right? So it's not about the outcome, it's about the potential outcome. Even if there's an injury, the potential was, man, that could have been much worse, right? So we're not okay with that. Number two, when we have a sticky event, we are going to be hyper responsive and even hyper reactive. If we have an event that falls in a sticky category, we're going to overreact. I'm just going to be honest with you. We do, in a good way. Like we're fixing to be hyper reactive to that. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to pause the work. We're going to jump on what we call a learning huddle as a team and have a conversation about, hey, we had a sticky event. Were we effective in what we tried to do with our controls, or were we ineffective in what we're trying to do, right? We're going to talk about that as a team. Because again, even if nobody got injured, it's not about the outcome, it's about the potential outcome. So that's really, really important. We're not going to blame. We're not going to blame the employee. We're not going to blame ourselves. We're just not going to get in this, because for me, I call that lazy safety. Because it's really, really easy to just look in the mirror and be like, I have teams that say this all the time, like, hey, stop saying that. Like, hey, I'll have a senior superintendent who's over the whole project, and he'll say this. He'll say, hey, sorry, it's on me, man. This is all on me. I'm like, hey, stop. It's not on you. We're in this canoe together. Every single one of us make up this whole body, if you will, and we're all doing this thing together, and we're in this canoe. We're in the boat. We're rowing this thing together. It's not on you. It's not on me. It's not on the employee. Man, we're just coming together to figure this thing out, right? We're just not going to, because blaming is easy. And the other thing blaming does, it stops learning, right? The moment in which I blame myself and say, hey, I'm the safety director. I'm ultimately in charge of all of it, right? I can say, hey, it's on me. I didn't do enough, whatever. Guess what? Then we just stop learning at that point. So I'm sharing that with you because I don't want us to ever get into a place where we start blaming folks, because that just doesn't solve the problem, right? Because it's easier to blame than it is to get better. Learning's hard, but it's vital. Learning is really hard. You know what's really hard to do, to be honest with you guys? It's really hard to do. Is something doesn't go right on your project. And hey, I tell you what, let's all get together and talk about what didn't go wrong on my job. Hey, we made some mistakes out here. Let's get together and talk about some mistakes. Who wants to do that, right? Like, especially when there's 15 people on the call or in the room. Nobody wants to do it. It's really hard to do that. To be honest, it's really hard. Because I told you that we create the system, we create the culture that our folks work within. So if something doesn't go right, it is impossible to not feel responsible for that, right? To feel that heaviness around that. So learning is really, really hard, but it is absolutely imperative for us to do that. Because maybe to be honest with you, we just can't get better if we don't talk about what didn't go right. We just can't. And so error or mistakes are normal, and they're actually to be expected. For us, if we're going to create the kind of robust safety system that we want to have with these robust controls in place, I got to kind of anticipate some people going to make some mistakes. I have made a ton of mistakes just on my way here since I've been in here. Some of y'all probably noticed them, but we make mistakes all the time, right? And so anticipating that is really, really important, because if I can anticipate it, then I can control and guard against it, right? We'll talk some more about that in a minute. I'll give you a really good example. We got to look internally and realize that we create the safety system that our employees work within. All right, we can talk about all the facets that make up a safety system, but it's not about fixing the employees. It's about having a robust system that accounts for the mistakes and implementing the necessary controls, right? And if our controls were missing or weren't enough, then it's because there were gaps in the system that we created. That's just kind of our philosophy around that. It's a principle we live by. Number 7, this is the one again, because you guys haven't heard this enough. Controls save lives. Promise you that. You don't remember anything else I say today. There's a pop quiz at the end. You guys only get one of the answers right. Just make sure it's this one. Controls save lives. I showed you some on that one slide. Type 2 hard hats, podium ladders, tool tethers. I can go down the list of active controls, right? Manufactured guardrails, hard barrier. I could sit here for days and just talk about controls that are on our jobs right now that I know for a fact that when an event happens, not if, but when the event happens, if those controls are there, they absolutely will save somebody's life. And man, I could not be more passionate and fanatical about that. I've seen it, and we know it's true. So let's talk about this. I think this is good. So if we're going to prevent a serious injury or fatality, SIF, it requires a different mindset, different approach, right? If uncontrolled energy is what kills people, shouldn't we focus on controlling energy, right? Isn't that what, if we know for a fact that it's uncontrolled energy, the release of it is what has the potential to kill somebody, then I think for us, our focus ought to be on controlling that energy, right? So best example of controls I can come up with. How many of you got your cell phone with you? Come on, be proud about it. Is anybody in here, I saw some of you scrolling. Does anybody in here not have a case on your cell phone? Raise your hand if everybody's got a case on your cell phone. Okay. Sometimes there's usually like one person in the room and I'm like, man, I got to talk to you one-on-one and understand what in the world. I got a guy at the office right now and he like refuses to put a case on his cell phone. I'm like, Corbin, what is wrong with you, man? Why are you, like, why? And his screen's cracked. I'm like, well, what do you expect? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he's got that. Yeah, it's Corbin. Yeah, I know. Surprise, surprise. So why do you guys have a case on your cell phone? In all seriousness. Say it again, Zach. Protect it. Yeah, it's very valuable. Absolutely, it's valuable. I don't know if you got. I mean, if you ain't bought one lately, thank goodness this is a company phone. I'm glad I ain't got to buy one. My gracious. Let me ask this. So you want to protect it? Super valuable. What else? Anything else?
What we do with it.
Yeah, it's almost a must-have. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. Yeah, it's actually a small part of it, yeah. Let me ask you this. How many of you today woke up this morning and was like, man, I can't wait to go to this ASSP presentation. It's going to be amazing. Change my life, get a Chick-fil-A sandwich. And was like, you know what I want to do today? I want to drop my phone and break my phone. That's what I want to do today. You know what? I got it today and I hope I drop my phone. That's what I want to do. Anybody say that? If not, if so, we got to talk, but I would think not, right? How many of you ever got up in the morning and go about your day, going to class, going home, whatever, and you have dropped your phone? Raise your hand. All of us have dropped this phone. I've dropped that one. This one's relatively new. I got this one about 2 months ago. They forced us to get a new one, which isn't a bad thing, but I got a new one. Immediately, I wouldn't even take it out of the box, to be honest with you, until I had the case. And I hope you guys will let me, I even got a screen protector on it because I've been burnt by that. Had a case, dropped it, screen protector wasn't on it, cracked my screen. So now I'm like double protected. But if you dropped your phone, did you mean to drop it? I mean, I'll be honest with you, I have done this, not with this phone, thankfully, but with my old one. I have gotten out of the truck, had my phone, be getting my bag and drop that phone, and it makes a very distinct sound when it hits the concrete. And I don't know how you guys are, but immediately I'm like, oh. In my mind, I'm like, man, I hope that case protected it. But I didn't mean to do that. And I would venture to guess this is true about all of you in this room. You don't intend, it's not like an intentional act, like, I hope I dropped my phone today. Maybe I hope my case kind of works. But you could say this, maybe I made a mistake, right? I was in too big of a hurry. I had too much stuff in my hands, had all this going on, and I dropped my phone. It made that distinct sound when it hit the asphalt, and I just hope it didn't break it. It's the best example of controls and this idea of people make mistakes. So this is what you did, and you didn't even realize it. It's what I did. It's what you did, and you didn't even know you were doing it. You were anticipating. You knew the probability was I'm probably going to drop my phone at some point. And so because I'm not going to do it on purpose because that would be kind of crazy to do that. You're like, but I know this about me. I'm liable to make a mistake because I'm error prone. I may make a mistake. And when I do, I want to make sure I've got the right control in place to protect my valuable asset, the thing that's so important to me, because I may make a mistake. When I do, I want to make sure I got a control in place that's going to protect it. Not because I intend to do it, I just may make a mistake. And I want to make sure when that happens, I got some capacity built into my system that allows me to recover so I can pick my phone up and I can get back to texting, baby, what I love to do, right? Does that make sense? So that is the best example. We're just doing that on a much grander scheme when you think about the job. Listen, phones can be replaceable, people cannot. And I'll just tell you from my standpoint, let me tell you what I'm not in the business of. Taking people out of future family photos. I'm going to be honest with you. If you think about that red line, let me tell you what happens in that red line. People don't go home ever again, and they never show up in another future family picture. And man, when I think of it like that, I'll be honest with you, it motivates me, it energizes me to say, whatever I got to do and whatever we have to do to make sure those controls are in place that will protect our people, we're going to do it. And even if it's uncomfortable, even if it means we got to have a difficult conversation, we're going to do it, right? Show you a video real quick. What you think about that video? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Oh, yeah, it's like they were really like, I know what's about to happen. This tiger's fixing to try to jump up. So if you go back to what we talked about before, what would that tiger be a representation of? Starts with an E. Energy, right? And lots of energy fixing to get released, isn't it? Right now it's just kind of dormant, right? It's just kind of latent. It's kind of hanging out there. It's fixing to get released. What must we better have in place when that energy right there gets released? A glass cage, right? A control. That's exactly right. Here's something that I think is so impactful. When we kind of share this with our groups and our project teams, we're like, hey, what's keeping, as I show this video a lot of times, what's keeping our employees on the project today from getting mauled by a quote unquote sort of tiger, right? This energy that's kind of just latent right now, that's kind of just waiting to get released. What's keeping our folks, right? Based on those 9 sticky categories. And let me tell you what it's not. And hear me when I say this, I mean this like, these things are incredibly important. It's a part of our system. It just doesn't prevent a sticky injury from taking place. SHIMS rule, right? Like we literally have a 480-page SHIMS manual at B&G, and I've memorized every page of it. Don't you worry. And in there somewhere, I'm sure it says something like, hey, to the employee, don't do this. Like, and this would be an example, hey, don't turn your back on this tiger, right? It would say, hey, don't do this. I'm sure that's in there all throughout, right? That's not just telling me to not do something, not going to protect me from it, right? Danger sign warning that, hey, there's a tiger right here in this area. Hey, we love some signage at B&G. If you've been by one of our jobs, it's impossible. You can't read all the signs that we got. I don't know why we have so many, because there's no way you could read them all. We love some signage. A 1-hour training course on how to be safe when you're working around tigers. We got a lot of training we do too. And it's really good. It's important. Don't get me wrong. You got to educate and make folks aware. But that in and of itself will not prevent somebody from getting mauled by that. And then the last one would be this idea of like some bulletproof glass, right? Which one you think is most reliable in our system? Yeah. That's what we call an active control. It's an active control that's in place, right? Not everything's going to go right all the time. Y'all believe that? I absolutely believe that. Absolutely. Had an event this week on Tuesday, and I'll be honest with you, not everything went right that day. And it's a project that I would tell you, when you walk on that job, you can just feel the safety on that job. I mean, it is to me, it is the epitome. It is a poster of what we want our jobs to be like, but we still had an event. So not everything's going to go right all the time. And that's just a fact. And if we know that, then we have to stop asking this question: who did something wrong? And start asking this question to ourselves: what in our system allowed this to actually happen? What was missing in our system? What did we put in the system that maybe got us to this place? Like it's this idea of like kind of looking in the mirror and saying, we control it in terms of the system that we create. And so if something went wrong, then we have to understand that it's something in our system that allowed that to happen. That's where learning begins with us. That's not easy, by the way. Let me just say this. That's not an easy thing to do, is look in the mirror and say, hey, we didn't do enough, or we did this, or we didn't have this in place, and it allowed this to happen. It's really, really tough to do that. It is. But that's where learning actually begins, with that conversation. Everything we need to have our next sticky event already exists on our project. It's kind of cool that we got this job site out here across the street we can kind of look at. But I would tell you that whether they realize it or not, I don't know these guys, but whether they realize it or not, everything that they need to have a sticky event already exists. They don't have to incorporate anything new. Nothing else has got to be added. They could have a sticky event on that job right now. Y'all believe that? And say that again. Heavy equipment. I see some excavation trenching going on. Man, they may even have some rigging going on. If they're laying pipe, they're probably rigging some pipe with that excavator. Man, everything that they need to have a sticky event, it exists right now. And so this is something we say a lot. We talk about this a lot in our company. Hey guys, we're not waiting on something else to show up to have a sticky event. It already exists. Depending on the phase of the job, it may be different, maybe a different of the 9 categories, but something on that job from the moment in which we set foot on the project and start enabling work and start mobilizing, everything we need already exists, right? So now let's figure out what those things are, have those conversations. Where does it fit in those 9 sticky buckets? And then what controls do we need? What bulletproof glass? What controls do we need to have in place to protect our folks from that energy, right? Control saves lives. Man, I just believe that. So when this task or person fails, makes a mistake, what controls keep us from being killed or seriously hurt? And the question that I think is really impactful is that enough, right? Is it enough? And I would tell you oftentimes what we learn and what we find out in these learning conversations is that maybe the controls we had in place we thought were good at the time, but we could have done more and maybe add some additional things in place. And we see that a lot. And that's a good place for us to be is, hey, there's more we can do. There's more controls we can add as it relates to that. So thoughts, questions. I got one more slide I want to share with you in a minute and then I'll be through, but I want to take any questions or thoughts, feedback, comments.
But I know you said you guys are like self-performing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean every aspect of y'all self-performance? Do y'all do like, y'all have subs that come out and do specific, jobs?
Great question. So we are about 85% what we call subcontracted out. So everything from specialty trades, so drywall, MEP, your mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural steel, precast, glass, those kind of specialty trades. We're not going to get into that. What we self-perform is going to be concrete formwork, concrete placement. So if we do a 5-story concrete structure, we're going to self-perform that with our people. We own about 60 tower cranes, and so we have our own tower crane operators. Site civil, we do a lot of the site work, civil work, laying like sanitary storm piping, and do the site work itself. That's really the bulk of it for us. Rough carpentry, so you'll see us do like blocking and things like that. But that is really where our sweet spot is for us. Yeah.
That's all we have. Like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
no, like,
Mm-mm.
concrete work, is all basic.
Just like rough carpentry type. Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Good question. Anything else? Thoughts? Yeah. Oh man, what a good question. I love that question. Man, it's funny you ask that because I get this question a lot too. And some of you've interned with us, so you know, but I get this question like, hey, man, Stephen, man, what's a day in the life of an intern look like at Brass Van Gorn? I'm like, I'm glad you guys asked that because for us, it is doing the exact same things that a safety manager does. Man, I would tell you that I would never underappreciate the value of even an intern being on our project because we give our interns, I mean, real life sort of things to do on the job, no different than what the safety manager's doing. So doing orientations, doing all hands meeting, like having conversations with folks out in the field about these things that we're talking about, right? Our interns are doing that. I would tell you that our interns are out there doing what we call detect and correct. They're out there walking, they're seeing things, man, they're having conversations with folks about getting stuff right. I would tell you it is absolutely impactful what our interns do at B&G. Man, I think this is true too. It's funny because I have met safety professionals in my career that I don't think actually love doing safety. It's kind of interesting. I actually love what I do. I actually love people. I mean, I genuinely love being around people, and I kind of feel like the profession; those two things are kind of go hand in hand. And I think, man, to your question, I think interns showing up on the job, being passionate, energetic, like fired up about what we do, man, I think that actually enhances and sort of creates more it's like gas on a fire. Like it just kind of helps grow what we're trying to accomplish. So yeah, I think it's exciting seeing folks that want to show up, actually want to do this profession. And I think folks seeing people want to do that, Our interns are making an impact for sure. Absolutely, man. Great question. Yes.
Anybody that's in the safety field at all, or out on the job, no matter where you are, you never know when you're going to be the person that notices something. Just because you happen to walk by something, you happen to be the one in the place, you happen to be the one that's there when somebody needs to ask a question. I'm a firm believer that most things do not happen by chance. Like, I am a very faithful person. I believe the good Lord plays chess with us all the time.
Oh yeah, sure.
Things in place where you can possibly
Absolutely.
get ready to do something. But instead he didn't, because either he saw you,
Did I break something?
or maybe he didn't know, and so he stops and asks you a question. What about this situation? What about that situation? So from intern to CDO, like, don't ever underestimate what you can do in a certain situation, because you may be the person that prevents something catastrophic.
So well said. So well said. I agree. There's no chances or happenstances. It's divine intervention will certainly bring. I'll give you a quick story. I told you we had an event Tuesday with our projects. This guy's first day on the job. We had an employee that worked for a second tier subcontractor, was doing some work on a panel. There was an arc in that panel. He was working adjacent to it, not actually on the electrical, but he was working in it. And there was an arc flash. Either one, he was shocked, we're not sure yet, or the fall off the ladder caused him to go into cardiac arrest. And when our safety manager, it's his first day on the job, gets to him, he's non-responsive. And our safety manager does chest compressions on this guy. He's 50-something years old. When he got to him, was non-responsive. The rest of the team is there. And so they swap out, as you might imagine, and he comes back. And he was carried to UAB, and right now he's doing fine. He's going to be okay. So to your point, I told Aaron this today. I told him this week. I said, man, you weren't there by accident. Man, there's a reason why you were there. And man, what you did saved a life today. So and that's probably a little bit beyond the call of duty, so to speak. I don't know that we all sign up for that. We're more in the prevention business than that. But man, there's a reason why he was there that day. And man, he saved a life. His first day on the job saved a life. And so, man, I would tell you that I think what we bring to a project and to a team, folks just seem to be at ease when they talk to somebody that's in safety, right? It just gives them this sense of peace and just sort of contentment. Like, man, they just know that we're there with one motive in mind. It's just for their well-being and their betterment, right? So I think it's a really good question. Yeah.
Do you think that it helps in y'all's like in y'all safety effort? Because I mean, on a multi-contractor job site, I mean, you're going to deal with a lot of different, I guess, cultures of mindset on safety, how they view safety. You know, we had some teams when I worked, we had some teams that were super big on safety. A lot of the union guys that are non-union guys that weren't really taught safety or the real meaning of safety. They were kind of more distant to safety, and they kind of did like Gobby's talked about, where they kind of hide away from safety a lot more than bring up issues or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you that in my very first company I was on was a self-performed job. We had about 300 B&G employees on that job, and man, I wouldn't be half the safety professional that I ain't much of one, but I wouldn't be half that I am were it not for that component. Because what it helped me to do and forced me to do was understand the constructability of the job, right? Like I had to understand, and those are our employees. Like I have to help train them. There's a lot of things I have to understand their fall protection component. Like there's so much I had to do that really drove me to be better and ask a lot of questions. I will tell you that it certainly has helped our department be much better at what we do than if we didn't have to be involved. Like if we're just subbing that out, so to speak. And that's not necessarily a criticism. It's just of other companies that do that. That's just something our company, Mr. Gorey, was passionate about when he started the company. And thankfully we've held on that, and we're trying to grow that to be even more. It certainly, for me, I think there's some indirect things that it does. You know, in terms of like we get to better control the schedule of the job, which certainly safety is a big component of that. Again, our operators, so we get to control I know what level of training the B&G employees are actually getting, because we kind of control that versus, you know, somebody coming in that we don't necessarily control that level of something. So, I mean, there's just some things there that I think certainly help maybe enhance what we want to do from a safety standpoint, for sure. Yeah. Great stuff. Anything else? Can I share one more slide in closing? So, oh, sorry, I messed you up. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to share this real quick. Then I won't park here long, because I think this is really important. So how we measure success at B&G, I just want to leave you this thought. Because somebody said it earlier, and I was really glad to hear you say that, hey, the hammer dropped 5th floor, didn't hit anybody, and we're like, we got really lucky, right? So for us, we just don't measure safety success by numbers or by trying to count up how many incidents we had or didn't have. For us, we put them in one of two categories, either lucky or good. And so as you might imagine, lucky would be this idea of, hey, we had an incident and nobody got hurt, thankfully, but were we lucky or were we good because nobody got hurt? If the hammer falls and doesn't hit anybody and there's no controls in place that prevented that, that'd be lucky. Just got lucky. But if that hammer falls and it lands in a drop zone that we created, right, and nobody was in there and it prevented somebody from being in there, that's an active control that was in place, that energy got released, that's good. That's the area we executed what we wanted to do. Or we'll go tool tether route. Somebody's working on leading edge, they drop a hammer inadvertently, didn't mean to, made a mistake, whatever, and that tool tether catches it. We're going to put that in the good category, right? And I want to capitalize, because I want to understand how we got there. What did we do to get there? And in reverse, I want to understand also, if we were lucky, why were we lucky? What was missing in our system? And I want to make sure we fix that, right? So that's how we sort of measure safety success at B&G, is we're either lucky or we're good. And there's really definition to both of those of why that is, right? So, hey, thank you guys again. I appreciate the questions and the comments, and appreciate you guys letting me come today.
Before we'll turn that light on.
No, that would be.
Alabama chapter of ASSP, along with the student section here at JSU, would like to offer you
Thank
this
you, sir.
coveted.
Of course. It is coveted, by the way.
It does
Very
work in microwaves and
very coveted.
dishwashers. And if you don't drink coffee, it'll hold pieces of foam when you drop it
I-
and break it.
Well, I do drink a
Or
lot.
pens.
I do drink a lot of coffee, so
Thank you very
that's a
much,
fact.
Stephen.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you.
All right. Anybody have any announcements or any safety shares they have today they want to talk about? If not, some of the events that are coming up, this is through UAB's Deep South Center for Occupational Safety and Health. There's a construction conference coming up on March 26th. Dorinda Hughes, who's the regional administrator for OSHA Birmingham office, is going to do an OSHA update there. We just found that out this morning. This is free, no charge to attend the conference. It's absolutely free. You have to go to UAB website and register there. You'll probably get a notice that says, hey, everything failed, but it said it last year and it said it 2 years ago. So you're probably registered. You can call them and say, hey, am I actually registered? And if by chance it didn't work, you can register on site. That's not a problem. It will be at the Hyundai Training Center down in Montgomery, 7:40 to 3 p.m. is the actual conference late.
And Tom, I think we've already got, how many students have y'all got for the construction conference?
The one in March?
Yeah, the
Going
one.
to March.
I'm not for sure how many we have currently going to that. I know there's a few, somewhere around 8 to 10 currently.
Okay.
I know we do have a lot going to the Auburn one, April 3rd,
Okay.
somewhere around 17, 18 people
Okay.
signed up already. So
Warning on the construction conference, they used to give breakfast. They aren't doing it this year. They dropped it. It wasn't worth the amount of food they threw away. It wasn't worth keeping it up.
this one,
As you know, April 3rd, obviously is the first mini expo for Auburn University. Students are $10. If you're going to attend, it's $50 for safety professionals. Vendors are $300 or $350 a table, I think. Check our website. That's where registration and the flyer information is for that. There is going to be a Region 4, which is our Region ASSP meeting, a ROC meeting, which is for the membership, not the membership, but the leadership for the chapters. The day before, Region 4 will actually have a conference for 2 days on the 23rd and 24th. It's much cheaper than going to Anaheim for the national ASSP, but it's much smaller. Nice thing, it's over in Atlanta. It's the Crown Hilton over there, I think is where it is. So it's going to be a really nice location right next to where the Falcons play, I think is the location. And that's going to be April 22nd through 23rd. Obviously, the ASSP Safety 2026 is out in Anaheim, California, if you're interested in going to that. Let's see. Our March meeting is, I got a question, I'm hoping it's gonna be on energy drinks and the adverse health effects of drinking 6 or 7 at work every day. Believe it or not, you'll get out into these workplaces and they'll drink one every hour. And there's gonna be some health effects over time drinking all those. Unfortunately, I don't know if the individual I got who was gonna present and do it in March, or it'll be later this year. In which case, we'll have a meeting in March, but I don't know what it's gonna be yet. We'll verify what it will be by the next newsletter coming out next month. And then obviously April 17th will be our membership recognition, where we have a nice luncheon and recognize all our long-term members, the spies. We'll probably have some other awards given out, as well as our scholarship awards, and those will come out next month on who we're giving the scholarships to at Jacksonville State University. Let's see. And that's pretty much lifetime service award. I did is John Placey. He's been around since the dinosaur age. He's been our treasurer since 1901 when we were in existence, or ASSP. And he's still a member of ASSP and still alive and doing well and makes some of our meetings. So he's going to get our lifetime service award. Let's see. There's not much going on March for training at UAB or University of Alabama due to basically something called spring break. So everybody gets a week off, so not much this month coming up, but there's a couple of courses coming up. The initial spirometry at UAB, and then an interesting one at University of Alabama is fall protection, which will be on the 9th through 11th on March. Let's see, anything else I got? And that's all I have. Next meeting will be March something. It's going to be 19th, 20th, or 27th in March in ATC Irondale location there in Birmingham area. Hope to see you there. Anybody have any other comments, questions, concerns, suggestions? Otherwise, have a great trip going home. Be safe, and there's plenty of food if you want to take an extra. Just leave me 2. I'll take a couple. Oh, leave me one of the Mountain Dews to get me